Discord. Thank you. Karen's not here to remind me. I don't know why she's not here, um, but she'll be here. I'm sure she'll be along. Um, I am recording. I don't know. Is it just you? I think it's just you. Um, just tried with Chrome. Right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 by 4. I've got 20 people in here. Are you using different hardware? Oh, I'm talking out loud to the chat room on Discord. That's probably not going to work. Um, Okay, well, can't. Okay, well. Okay, well, let's rock and roll. So, um, character sheets are due by 5. Get them in. As per the syllabus, yes, it is on the syllabus. For every 24 hours that you could have submitted something but don't, I take 5% off. I'm usually pretty liberal with that, as in basically if you're late and I go and grade it, I'll take 5% off. I don't know, but if then like I've graded something and your thing comes in after I've graded it, then I start getting grumpy about it. Mostly that 5% is that tax is there so that you don't submit everything for the class on the last day of the class. Um, you know, and then I get crushed in the 2 days I have to get grades in. So think of the professors. Um, and mostly so you don't get behind. Um, I understand there are special circumstances. Hello, kitty. Um, we got a sideways kitty. Um, yeah, my dog is out in the living room. I got too many other things. Hello, kitty. Kitty's awake today. Um, so mostly historically, the people who NR this class, and despite everything, there are always people who NR this class, um, are people who don't hand things in. That's the number one reason for NRing this class. Also, uh, I've been meaning to say it and I keep forgetting. The faculty, I don't know if you got email about this, but the faculty passed an emergency measure. I'm going to turn off my walking around outside because it's distracting me. Um, uh, so, the faculty passed an emergency measure so that you can choose any course this term to be a pass-fail course. But I think you have to declare beforehand. So especially if, the whole thing is, I don't know, you're working at a grocery store and you're just barely keeping up, that's fine. No harm, no foul. Switch over to pass fail. Um, Hi, Karen. You are unmuted. So, or God forbid you get sick, switch over to pass fail. Just I think you have to let me know that you're switching over to pass fail, or let the registrar know. They sent a thing that the motion had been passed and said they'd send us more details shortly. And I have never gotten any more details about switching to pass fail. So anyway, so just be aware that that is an option for you. Okay. So we got done with 3-act structure. I don't know how doing PowerPoint slides in Zoom works, but I set up a PowerPoint and we're gonna try it. What is share screen? Because like if I share the screen with you, then you see what I see, not what I'm presenting. What if I do this? Slideshow, come on. Okay. What are you guys seeing?
We can see your notes also, but I think you can change that in the display settings, but then you don't get to see the notes.
Oh, I don't need to see the notes. In the display settings for PowerPoint?
It was up on that, yeah, in the vision up there on the top.
Display settings. Like that?
Yep, that works. We just have the hero's journey out there.
Okay, great. Because I have no notes. I do this off the cuff. So this is kind of the heart of the course. I want to talk about the hero's journey because basically most video games are the hero's journey. Many stories are the hero's journey. Can I do Alt H? Nope.
Are you missing the chat?
Yeah, I can't get the chat.
They're just poking at each other.
I know, but I want to see the chat. It makes me crazy. It's Alt H, right?
Chat, it should be, yeah.
It's Alt H. No, I got nothing. Okay, well, so there's this guy named Joseph Campbell. He was an academic. He studied stories, and he collected basically myths and folklore and fairy tales from all over the world. And being a good academic, he did what academics do, and he studied them and looked for commonalities. And what he found was that many stories across all cultures, all over the world, have basically 14 steps. Sometimes there's 12, sometimes there's 14. Not all of them are in every story, but some of them are in many stories. Okay. You don't have to write every story as a hero's journey. In fact, I highly recommend that you don't. But once again, just like you learn to draw from life before you go to abstraction and cubism and all sorts of wacky stuff, these are the basically drawing in the lines of writing stories, right? So start with the hero's journey, and then once you've figured out the hero's journey and you can see the pattern and see the format in many stories, and this weekend, if you're watching a movie, look for that 3-act structure. Try and call out the catalyst. look for where the end of Act 1 and the end of Act 2 is. Where does the hero fail, and what does the hero put on the line to ultimately prevail, right? So here, this is a little different. It's still, the hero's journey fits into 3-act structure perfectly. Witness is a hero's journey. So let's go through it step by step. Also the Campbell book is called Hero with 1,000 Faces, because there are thousands of cultures, thousands of stories that have this hero's journey in it. It's a very academic book. I don't think you would like it much at this point, but if you're very, very interested in writing, at some point you should read it. So that's one of the reasons why I stick with this Ancient Glasner book, because he does the hero's journey quickly and well. And I don't have to make y'all read Hero with 1,000 Faces. So let's rock and roll. First off, first step of the hero's journey is the ordinary world. That sets the baseline. It tells us what is normal. In Witness, it's the funeral and the trip to Baltimore. In Lord of the Rings, it's all the Shire stuff at the beginning of Fellowship of the Ring. In Star Wars, it's constant war in space, right? It's called Star Wars. Usually in like rom-coms, it's the heroes or heroines boring day to day, right? They get up, they drink coffee, they go to work, nothing much happens, they do it again. So we've set the baseline. And then the next step is the call to adventure. This is what we would think of as the catalyst moment, the inciting incident, the help me, Obi-Wan, you're my only hope. Gandalf showing up and saying, that ring your uncle gave you is much more important than we thought. You have to take it, well, to Rivendell, is what he says, right? You have to take it to Rivendell. There will be old wise people there who know what to do with it. Meet me in Bree, and I have some other stuff to do, but meet me in Bree. There's basically in any rom-com, this is kind of the meet cute, right? A meet cute is when the love interests somehow meet in an interesting and funny and cute way. So the two harried office workers might crash into each other in the hallway, dropping all the stuff they were carrying, and then the stuff gets mixed up, and so one is carrying the other's very important paper, and vice versa. So they have to meet again. Or even just that banter, right? The you're not all that. Is that how you pick up people in bars? Kind of give and take of what people who don't particularly like each other do, right? But of course, they're going to fall madly in love by the end. So in Witness, what's the call to adventure in Witness? And this is going to make me crazy because I can't see the chat. So Karen, help me out. What's the call to adventure? Is mm, mm,
Who's gonna be
anything?
first? The murder question, Nicholas?
Yeah,
Luna,
it's
the
certainly
murder?
the inciting incident. It's the catalyst moment, but it doesn't feel like a call to adventure, right? It's not, hey, come on a journey with me. Um, Even though that is what starts everything. Um, but it is, right? This is, if you can get through this, new and interesting things are going to happen. So generally, right after the call to adventure. Oh, the other thing I want to say is, this is an order of how these happen. Um, they don't have to come in this order, right? Generally, these first, well, the call to adventure and the refusal of the call. Well, you can't have a refusal of the call until you have a call, right? So that order, sure. But um, in later ones, you might meet the goddess before you meet the mentor. You might um, take care, talk to the father or atone with the father before even meeting the mentor. There are lots of ways you can uh, uh, move these around. So don't think that this order is the only order that these can come in. The refusal of the call is, I can't do that. Um, I'm just a person. I can't possibly go on this big adventure. So um, in witness, it's, you'll testify, and as soon as we got the guy, we'll take you home, and we won't bother you until it's time for trial, right? There is no lasting repercussion to this. We will keep you safe, because basically from the murder, well, from the meeting with John Book through the crash um, of the birdhouse, Rachel is saying, we want no part of this. We just want to go. Don't involve us. My son is just a boy. Leave us alone. Leave us alone. Leave us alone. And that's a constant refusal of the call. In Star Wars, um, Luke says, "But I have to take these power converters to Tashi Station." Right? He can't go. When Obi-Wan says, we must take this message to Alderaan, right? Luke says, no, I can't go. I've got responsibilities here. In uh, Lord of the Rings, Frodo says, why don't you take the ring, Gandalf? I can't. I'm just a hobbit. I can't do this. Um, so generally, or in Matrix, right? If you have, do people have people still seen the Matrix? Is it old? Is it over? Does nobody watch the Matrix anymore?
Sebastian has.
Okay,
He likes the movie. Avery
okay.
has.
So
Some. Most, yes.
very early on, um, uh, the Neo gets, he's at his place of work, having returned to his regular life after the night before chasing the white rabbit, and he gets a call because the agents are coming for him, and it's what's his face, it's Lawrence Fishburne, Morpheus, and Morpheus says the agents are coming, you can't let them take you, um, duck now, turn left, turn right. And basically, with a cell phone, he is directing Neo to escape. And at a certain point, um, Morpheus says, Now jump. Right? Jump out this window. And Neo knows that if he jumps out the window, he's in a skyscraper, he's going to die. And Morpheus says, do you trust me? Do you trust me? And why would he trust this voice on the phone? So he gets captured. He says, nope, not gonna. And he gets captured by the agents. That is a classic refusal of the call to adventure. Imagine later when Morpheus says, take the blue pill or the red pill. The red pill, a whole new world opens. A blue pill, you go back to your regular life. Imagine if Neo had taken the blue pill, said, nope, going home. That's the end of the story. So at some point, there's the refusal, but they come back, right? So the meeting with the mentor in Witness, who's the mentor? Anybody?
Eli?
Eli?
Nicholas wants to know, is it Eli?
Maybe. Eli's certainly a mentor. He teaches John Book things. There's a little fake out about it in Witness.
John's partner at the station?
Well, his partner wouldn't be...
Or former partner.
Oh, the former partner. Yes, that's the fake out. Because he's the mentor of the old way, right? So that is a classic, okay, I've got a situation, I have to go see, he's not only my old partner, but he's the boss, right? So I am going to seek instruction from the older and the wiser. But the fake out is that the mentor is actually the villain, right? So it's not until we get into the second act that we actually meet the actual mentor, who's Eli. But I want to point out that both of these are older men. Mentors don't have to be older men. It's very tempting to make your mentor an old guy with a beard. In Lord of the Rings, who's the mentor?
Sam. Nicholas says Sam.
Yeah, Sam. I'm sorry. I've got a phone call.
Alex is Gandalf.
Yeah, of course. The old guy with the beard. He's the guy who knows more than anything else. Sorry about this. Okay, we're done. Yay. So when in doubt, talk to the mentor. In Star Wars, who's the mentor?
Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan, old guy with a beard.
Or Yoda is Eddie.
Yoda in Empire definitely is the mentor.
Ben Kenobi.
So the thing that defines the mentor is that the mentor has to teach the hero the skills they need in order to succeed. Okay, so I get a lot of students who say, well, this character is my mentor, and I'm like, no, because that character just said you have to go to the mountain in order to find the bad guy, right? That's not a mentor, that's a signpost, right? It's just go there. A mentor has to teach our hero how to wield a sword, how to shoot a gun, how to milk a cow, right? It's kind of why I love Witness, is because the things that our hero needs to succeed are not how to wield a sword or how to shoot a gun. It's how to run a farm, right? So the carpentry, that he doesn't use carpentry to succeed in the final battle, because he already knew that the mentor didn't teach it. But the cow stuff, in fact, that little scene with Samuel takes on the mentor role by showing him the silo, right? So even Samuel is a bit of a mentor here. Rachel is a little bit of a mentor with explaining about buttons and being plain and being Amish. So the mentor can be distributed across many people. Takes a village. It doesn't necessarily need to be an old guy with a beard, but the mentor has to teach the skills that the hero needs to succeed the final ordeal. Okay, moving on. Crossing the threshold. So this is basically the end of Act 1. This is when there is no going back to your old life. You are on this journey. You are committed to it. In Star Wars, it's we've already identified it. It's the end of Act 1. It's finding Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru. In Fellowship of the Ring, think about this.
Aaron says, knock, knock, Frodo, it's the ring brace.
Well, not quite. There's a scene where Sam says, Mr. Frodo, this is as far as I've ever been, and if I take one more step, I'm going further than I've ever been from the Shire, right? And that just cries out as a crossing the threshold moment, but it's not, because guess what? Sam can turn around and go back, right? The crossing the threshold moment in Fellowship of the Ring is very clear. Any ideas?
Dennis suggests the ring slips on Frodo's finger and is imprinted by Sauron.
Nope. When is there no going back to the Shire? Okay.
Nicholas says choice to take the ring from Rivendell. To take the ring from Rivendell.
Absolutely. So up until that point, the instructions are, we're going to get the ring to Rivendell, and then bigger people are going to take over. You guys are just interim people. We need you just to get it to the real people, the real heroes, right? We've got all these giant heroes coming. There's the best dwarf ever, the best elf ever, the best man ever, right? The best wizard ever. All of these people are going to take over. And what happens? All those people get in a room together and they just start arguing. And it's already crashing and burning because they're all going to fight. So Frodo says, I'll take the ring to Moria, or to Mordor. And that's when there's no going back to the Shire. He is committed. He becomes a hero at that moment, right? He commits. In Witness, the crossing the threshold moment is when he crashes into the birdhouse. Although it's really when he says there's not going to be any trial, right? Because at that moment he says, I'm not going back to the Philadelphia police force. I'm going into a new world. It's just that the world that he ends up going into is different from the one he expected to. This is usually the end of Act One, right? Now, think about this. There are 14 steps. The first 5 are kind of Act One steps. That's kind of a little heavy. It's the first third, more or less, rather than the first quarter. Let's keep going. Tests, enemies, and allies. This is when we meet the sidekick. This is usually a person who helps, who is comic relief, who makes jokes, who accompanies the hero on their journey. In rom-coms, this is the best friend, right? Who they talk to about this new person they met. In Fellowship of the Ring, it's all the fellowship, right? In uh, Star Wars, it's Han Solo. So we get a fellowship in Star Wars. We get Han Solo, Chewbacca, 3PO, R2D2, all going along, and Obi-Wan all going along with Luke, right? So those sidekicks can also have other roles, or allies. The tests are this is essentially Act Two in one step. The tests are the obstacles that they have to overcome throughout Act Two, and the enemies. This is the bad guy gets identified at this point. If there is a bad guy, who's the bad guy in Twister? It's a tornado, right? So we fight a tornado.
So Luna
Yes.
has a question. Is it, I guess, Cow in Witness, or and then Aaron said essentially the adventuring party forms.
Yeah, pretty much. You get a sidekick. In Witness, it's the family. It's Eli, Samuel, Rachel, and Book are the adventuring party, more or less. Although Daniel's in there too, right? Daniel's a frenemy. He's not the ultimate enemy, but he's the grumpy sidekick, who has his own agenda. He's also an ally. He teaches Book the Amish ways at the barn raising, and gives like dirty looks. He teaches Book how to drink lemonade. The tests are all the tests throughout Act Two. Essentially, every rising obstacle that the hero overcomes. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Okay, I'm going to move on. The goddess. The goddess, I think, is just as important as the mentor. Once again, the goddess doesn't need to be a woman. The goddess can be a man. The goddess can be a child. But at some point, the hero is going to get discouraged. The hero is going to have their failure, and the goddess reminds the hero why he's undertaking the journey. Okay, so once again, don't use the goddess as just a signpost to say, hey hero, get up, keep going, right? That's not a goddess. It's the goddess. It appeals to emotion, and spirit. So in Witness, who's the goddess? Mm-mm-mm.
Anybody?
Anybody?
Nicholas as Samuel.
A little bit, yes. You are not wrong. If anything, the goddess is distributed across Rachel and Samuel.
So Hannah is wondering, is it the family again?
Yeah, well, so why is he doing this? It's about keeping Samuel safe, right? So Rachel is constantly saying, why what will happen to my boy if this comes to pass, right? But it's also preserving that family unit, right? Preserving that Amish way of life, and the kind of romance. The why are you on this journey is in Witness about that kind of smooching in the field at the end when he's going to leave. Um, she she expresses her love so that he can remember why he has to sacrifice and leave. Right. In Star Wars, who's the goddess? See, I use bad examples because they
Wait,
the stereotypes. Karen?
Nicholas is saying Leia.
Leia. Yeah, sure. We start out with, hey, there's this princess who needs help. I must save the princess. And it's the end of Act 2. They're gonna come and destroy the third moon of Yavin. Is it second or third? Third moon of Yavin. Um, and she gives Han Solo his reward. She gives this is another thing the goddess does is bestows gifts on every member of the party. So she gives Luke the chance to be the hotshot pilot that he wanted. She gives Han the money that he owes. And really that's everybody. I guess she gives R2 and 3PO their positions back in the Resistance. In Lord of the Rings, in Fellowship,
Aaron was suggesting it was Galadriel.
Yeah.
The lady, the one who speaks in your head.
Yeah, because think about when we meet Galadriel, we have just lost Gandalf, right? Gandalf has just fallen in Moria. We have that long slow motion scene of everybody crying. And then we meet Galadriel and she shows Frodo the Shire in her pool and tells him, this is what will happen if you don't do this, right? And it's not in the movie, but she meets with each of the members of the Fellowship and she gives everybody gifts. So Sam gets a box of dirt from Lothlorien. Frodo gets the jar of water that will light his way in the darkest times. Aragorn and Legolas get way cool new weapons. Gimli gets 3 hairs from her head. And I don't know what Boromir gets. I forget.
A horn?
It's something. No, the horn comes from Gondor. It's the Horn of Gondor.
Oh, right.
Um,
So there were the brooches. So Nicholas has suggested that they also got brooches and cloaks
yep.
and lembas bread. Was that just in the movie, or was that also in the book?
Well, it's implied in the movie. It is, God, there's so much talk about the stupid lembas bread in the books. He goes on and on about the lembas, which is elven bread that you can eat a few crumbs and it will give you energy to walk for a day.
And
And of course, the hobbits just chow on that stuff because
Adam
they're
suggested
hobbits.
Boromir got a belt.
Okay, I, he he ends up dead soon after
Right?
anyway.
Isn't he
So
sort of a red shirt?
yeah, well, no, it's the big moment, you know. Boromir is the best of us, but he's also the worst of us. So, be careful with the goddess. Um, Atonement with the father is what um, the hero needs to do in order to become spiritually um, worthy of completing his journey. The other thing, I keep an eye on the time because my clock is hidden by all this PowerPoint stuff. I don't like this PowerPoint stuff.
341.
Okay, thank you.
Last number at 350.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
341.
Yes.
Okay.
We got
Um,
9 minutes.
So, atonement with the father, I'm going to move on. Usually, um, we pair this up with the mentor. And once the mentor has taught the hero what they need, uh, most of the times we kill off the mentor, right? Gandalf falls, uh, Obi-Wan gets cut down, um, uh, Morpheus uh, Morpheus gets captured. Um, doesn't everybody die at some point? I forget the Matrix. I should watch that again. Um, uh, in this in Witness, there's we don't lose the mentor. That's unusual. Um, but what we do, he's constantly atoning with Eli, his father figure here. And really, though, the father figure that he needs atonement with is his old partner, right? Which we don't get until the very end, when he said he teaches his father figure what it means to be a good cop rather than the other way around. Okay, I'm going to move on. Approaching the cave. This is, we know that there's going to be a big, terrible thing. And we prepare for it. So in Witness, it's usually the night before the battle, right? We know the big battle is coming tomorrow. And so there's a whole scene in Henry V, where King Henry disguises himself as just a regular soldier and moves among his soldiers to feel out their morale, and he talks to a bunch of soldiers, um, and they all know there's going to be this big battle tomorrow, and a lot of them are going to die, but they're in good spirits, and that's kind of the whole point of um, that scene, is that the spiritual um, optimism of the soldiers, even though they're outnumbered and outgunned, will carry the day. In Witness, the approaching the cave stuff is the resetting of the bird house, the giving the toy to Samuel, and the smooching with Rachel, right? And we assume, like Eli says, he will be leaving in the morning. He knows what happened. He knows he has to leave. There was a talk in there with Eli. Thank you. That uh, um, this is what he needs to do, but they don't know that there's going to be this big battle the next day that's going to settle everything. So, What happened? There it is. Then there's the ordeal, which is the big third act uh, thing. So in Witness, it's the fight with the cops. In Star Wars, it's the Death Star battle, trench run. In Lord of the Rings, in Fellowship at least, it's that last big battle with the is it the Uruk-hai, the orcs. In the Matrix, it's the big battle with the agents. Um, that's our climax. And think about that. Our climax, which is the basic middle of Act 3, is number 8. Well, actually number 10 out of 14. So we still have 4 more things to go. The reward is what they get. So in Witness, it's justice. In Star Wars, it's a bunch of medals. Chewie finally got his medal in this last movie. In Lord of the Rings, we don't really get a reward because we're in the middle of the larger story. If anything, it's Frodo getting fellowship with Sam. That last, I'm going to save you. We're going to Mordor together, right? And Legolas, Gimli, and Aragorn going off to save the hobbits and picking their battles. This is the road back. This is the denouement. Usually we don't have these in Hollywood movies. We don't care. We just hand wave it and say, and they got home again. And everything was different. We don't have it at all in Star Wars. We see the beginning of it in Witness because he starts driving away. But we just assume that he makes it back. And he's changed forever. We can't see what it's going to be like in his new reality. Then what we get is a resurrection, which is where, oh my God, the bad guy isn't dead. And none of these movies have that. The best example I can think of is in Die Hard, which I'm going to spoil. It's a last jump scare. We think we're in the denouement. Well, we are, because we've solved everything in Nakatomi Plaza. Bruce Willis is wrapped in a blanket because that's what you do. And he meets Al, and he kisses his wife finally, and ha ha ha, everything is over. And then the blonde guy, who I believe is the same guy who plays Daniel in Witness, throws off a blanket as one of the other victims and jumps out and tries to shoot John McClane. Right? It was classic resurrection. In the larger Lord of the Rings, in the books, Saruman, when they get home, they find that the Shire has been taken over by Saruman and turned into an industrial wasteland. And finally, returning with the elixir, which is the thing they need to save their old home. Okay. I gotta do one more thing, which is before you can go. And I have 1 minute. Let me stop the share real quick and switch to assignments on Canvas. Okay, so this weekend, all right, and let me go back to Zoom and let me share. The assignment for Monday is this. You should now have 6 characters between the 2 of you, or 9 characters between the 3 of you. You take those 6 or 9 characters and you pick 5 of them. All right. One of them is your hero. One of them is your sidekick. One of them is your mentor. One of them is your goddess. One of them is your villain. Okay. your sixth character, you can throw away. You can use them for something else. You can make your sidekicks give them two sidekicks. Up to you. Your sixth character is free, and for the group with 9 characters, you've got 4 characters that you can use for anything. Give the villain a sidekick, right? By Monday at midnight, write a story that fits the you have to hit at least 6 of the 14 hero's journey beats. The story should be 5 pages long, no more than 5 pages long, double spaced. All right. So if you've got a 5-page story and the first quarter is act 1, how long is 1/4 of 5 pages? 5 times 0.25. Do I have to get it out?
That's 1.25, Adam says.
Thank you. So if you get to 1 1/4 pages in, and you're still describing the ordinary world, and you haven't gotten an inciting incident, and you haven't crossed the threshold, you're writing too long. If you get to page 3/4 of the way through page 3, and you're not starting the final ordeal, you are writing too long. All right, so there's one other thing that you should do, and that's how you write this, which is with your partner. So you should get together again on voice, and one of you tells the story and the other types the story. And then I would say every page switch, right? Because the person, amazingly, the person who's just sitting back and talking is probably the more creative of the two, but all the power resides in the person who's typing, because they decide what actually gets on the page. Please, please, please do not say, I will write the first 2.5 pages and you write the last 2.5 pages, because I generally see right through that, because I'm reading along and it's a really good story and it's really well written. And then at 2.5 pages, suddenly the spelling goes to hell, the grammar goes to hell, or vice versa, right? And I'm like, oh, they switched. They didn't do it the way I said it. So work together on this story, okay? 5 pages. Get it out as well as you can. Just get it down on the page and then revise. Like, take as much space as you need and then cut what you need to cut. Okay? Make it good. Be proud of it. Don't say, oh, this is the sucky story that I wrote for this assignment. Hand in what you are proud of writing. Okay. Any questions? I can actually see the chat. Maybe I can see the chat. Dismiss. Alt H. Nope. I can't see the chat. I don't know where the chat is.
If you bring your mouse down to the bottom of the screen, you should be able to click on chat.
I can't see it. Anyway, I'm going to stop this share. Now I can see the chat. So please, 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 for Monday, write me a good 5-page story. Make a hero's journey with your 5 characters. Well, 6, but use what you have. Okay? Okay. Great. Have a great weekend. I'll be checking in on the Discord. If you have any questions, put them on the Discord or email me. And again, on Sunday, I will be streaming Passage Sunday at 3:00. I'll be streaming Passage and Facade. Okay. Have a great weekend.